Hey everybody, it's Steph. Today I want to talk to you about something a little bit steamy. I want this to essentially be a crash course in trans women and dating or romancing trans women for both trans women and people interested in trans women. This is not going to be a video that's like, oh, bring her flowers at this time to make her feel special. This is going to be a video about, you know, maybe why we don't want to go to this club because we might get shot, or maybe this and that and how we're going to die. We're not going to die because we're going to be careful and we're going to be safe and we're going to educate. But this is that kind of video. That being said, my experience is not universal, so this will not help every single person interested in this topic. Hopefully it will help most of you, or educate most of you, but you know, if you have questions, please let me know in the comments. When I first realized I was trans, I figured I would hold off on romance and things like that for a few years until I was more comfortable and the people that I'd be with would be a little bit less self-conflicted and confused. I'd like to clarify that there is no reason why those people should be self-conflicted or confused, which I'm going to touch on in this video. Point is, I've been thirsty. The problem with me being thirsty is that I'm also way too scared to pursue anything out of fear of death. Because nobody cisgender has any idea what they're doing with a trans person at all unless they've A, experienced being with a trans person, or B, been told what to expect from a trans person. Which is why I'm here. I'm going to tell you what to expect. Most cisgender men still don't understand that if they're attracted to a trans woman, they're still straight, regardless of how far into transition that trans woman is. Let's address this first. To the man pursuing a trans woman, if you're straight, you're still straight. Wow, that was easy. The person you're interested in is a woman, regardless of the prefix before woman, trans or cis, and regardless of how deep into transition that person is, because they're not defined by their genitals. Like, that should be, why are you a dick? Like, I don't, because I'm not. When it comes down to it, what makes a person who they are is not what they look like or what their body is like, but, well, who they are. What energy they give off, how they behave, their interests, their dreams. This is something your parents likely taught you very early on. You are not defined by your outer shell, but the inside. It's the inside that counts. If you find yourself physically attracted or like sexually attracted to a trans woman, cool! Don't sweat it, they probably look really good. Here are some things to keep in mind. Do not treat her like a sexual object. Trans women have, since they emerged in Western culture, been treated like the one-night stand, bad business kind of don't take her home to mama kind of girl. This is dehumanizing and just degrading and not very fun. I don't like it. Don't do it. It makes us look like a fetish, which we are not. We are people. That's why when you tell your buddies your girlfriend is trans, they're all like, whoa man, you're interested in the freaky shit. Which is false and awful, because I'm not a sex toy or a dildo or a whip or a chain. I'm a person that you may have feelings for. I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm just talking about anybody attracted to trans people. Please, I know you don't love me that way. My heart's broken. One-night stands, of course, are all well and good as long as both parties are aware that it's a one-night stand. In my case, however, and I am guessing many other trans people, I cannot just hook up with whoever. As much as I would love to, that is not something that I can do because I'm afraid of being murdered. Like dead. Like not coming back kind of murdered, you know? Let's talk about that now. Safety. The #1 cause of trans women's death in the United States, or in, you know, pretty much the whole world, is take a minute, think about it, bop it, pull it, cis people. Oh, that's a big umbrella, vague term. I know that's kind of scary for you, but listen, hear me out. Take a second to consider these statistics. 1 in 15 trans people is murdered. 1 in 12 trans women are murdered, and 1 in 8 trans women of color are murdered every year in the United States. If we contrast this with the general rate of murder for everybody else, it's about 5 in 100,000 in the US in 2012, and in Canada the same year it was 2 in 100,000. That's a pretty big gap. If we break it down, that means 1 in 50,000 in Canada for 2012, or 1 in 15 for trans people in Canada in 2012. That's a big difference, and it's terrifying. That's why, girl X, I will not go to the club with you because I am afraid of being murdered in the back room, okay? I have a much higher chance of that than you do. Ignorance is purely the only reason why we're getting murdered like this. It's ignorance. People do not want to be educated. That's why I'm here. Share me with your friends so I can educate them, please. This is where passing comes into play. Cis people in general, people in general, think that only passing trans people are worthy of their time or their, you know, acceptance or their likes on Facebook or whatever. This should not be the case. Passing, for those of you that do not know, is how well you pass as a cisgender person. So for example, for me as a trans woman, how well do I pass as a cisgender woman? This concept is horrible, outdated, deadly. This basically tells trans people that if they do not meet the requirements for this unobtainable without surgeries and hormones and medical expenses beauty standard, that we're not worthy of respect or anything at all. We're not interested in passing as cis people, really. We're interested in liking the way we look. That's kind of the point. That's why we do all this stuff. We want to like the way we look. We don't want to get you hard. Like that's not why I do my hair. I don't do my hair to make you hard. That's not what this is about. I promise. I can assure you that I've thought about it, and that's not why I do my hair in the morning. This passing standard is both what makes some trans people safer from random violence, but it's also what makes some trans people even more susceptible to random violence. People that do pass might receive a little bit less harassment on the street, but they're still not exempt from violence. And people that cannot pass, or do not want to pass and refuse to adhere to this standard, which is awesome, thank you, they are even more susceptible to violence and will likely experience it several times in their lifetime, and that's not okay. That's why I'm here to talk to you. Please share me with your friends so I can educate them. I don't know how to be safe really beyond not doing anything. Don't go out at night, don't take that alleyway shortcut home, which I should not have to recite because trans people should have the privilege of spending their free time how and where they see fit. Note that I said a privilege. Yes, it is a privilege. That is a privilege that cisgender people have that I, as a trans person, do not get to use. Even then, cisgender women and cisgender people of color are put at similar risks in these kinds of situations depending on the area they're in, the demographic of the people, etc., etc. That is not the topic of this video, however. I just wanted you to understand that the risk of presenting our true selves is worth a lot more than a dick. Okay? I do not risk getting shot for a hookup. That's not what this is about. I think we've already established that. Let's talk now about how to properly treat a trans woman that you might be interested in. I'm sorry, I can't speak for trans men. I do not know that experience. I don't even know the male experience. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to being a man because I have never been one, but you know, but many of these things will overlap anyways if you just adjust your thinking and perspective. If you are someone interested in a trans person, things can be pretty scary. That might scare you away. If it does, you're not ready. That's okay. Come back another time. You will need to think about everything you say. You cannot just talk without thinking because you will hurt somebody. This will become a habit and become very easy over time, and most of us are fairly forgiving in the beginning if you slip up once or twice and you apologize. Some of us are forgiving like that, some of us aren't. If we're not, don't be mad at us because we've heard these things 1,000 times. Know this person going into your romantic pursuit. Don't just see somebody on the street. Don't just see this trans woman and be like, oh, that's a trans woman. I'm gonna go sleep with her, because that's not how it works for us. Most of us. It's as much as I would love to just jump into bed with some good-looking Italian man. That's not possible. It's not. Because I could die. It's not like a cis romance movie where you see her in a bookstore and you ask her out for coffee. You can do that. I will probably say yes because hello, I love coffee, and guys in bookstores usually are kind of adorable. But I sure as hell would not feel safe while I'm sipping on my macchiato or whatever. I don't even know what a macchiato is, but I know it's something to do with coffee, so I'm presenting it to you. Know their pronouns. Know if they're interested in people like you, as in your gender or your career or whatever. Know their name. Know them. Just know them before you approach them in a romantic way. That will make us feel a lot more comfortable if somebody that I've known for about, 2 weeks to a month is like, hey, I'm kind of interested in you. Let's go see a movie. Let's go see Batman. I'll be like, okay, you know me well enough, you respect me as a person, let's see how this works. But if I'm approached by somebody on the street, I will say no 99.9% of the time because I don't know how they're going to react when I tell them anything. The point is, trans people need to feel safe with you. That is the #1 most important thing. We need to feel safe. I just told you how high our murder rates are. I need to feel safe if I'm going on a date with you or if I'm sleeping with you or whatever. It is the most comforting thing. After a long day of existing as a trans person in public and on public transit and at work, I would like to come home and not have to think about anything at all. I don't want to think about how I have to sit, how I have to talk, how I have to twirl my hair, I don't know, my body language. I don't want to have to think about it. I want to be able to just relax and be myself and calm the hell down. So have patience, basically. Have patience. Be patient. Patience is a virtue, whatever. I don't even go to church. Is that a church thing? I don't know. You will also, if you're dating a trans person publicly, which you should be because you should not be ashamed of dating a trans person, you will likely experience a small brunt of what we experience on the daily because you're now involved with a trans person. You're part of the experience. You're part of the life. Get used to it, buddy. You will not be at the same risk of violence or harassment or life-threatening threatening situations, but you will likely experience thousands of microaggressions and stupid, annoying questions that you've answered 1,000 times. Fun stuff. So you're gay now? Does she have a dick? What does your dad think of her? So you can't have kids ever? The proper answer to all of these really is either get the fuck out of my face, mind your own business, or Google it. But this is something you'll be experiencing a lot. We may actually need you to speak on our behalf if we request it, if we're okay with that, if you know what you're talking about, just to save us some of the annoyance of doing it so many times. And that is a very helpful thing to do. I don't want to have to go out with your friends and then have to explain to them my trans experience while I'm trying to relax and have a good time. If you could explain that first, beforehand, with your friends in another setting, that'd be great, so that when they meet me, they know how to respect me properly. Thank you. Oh wow, that was hard. And please never think you're more sick of the questions than we are, because I can promise you, you're not. Your first time hearing the question is our 1,000th, and your 1,000th time hearing the questions is our 1,000,000th. If you and this trans person are going to be sexually active with each other, you need to have a conversation first. Just like cis people are supposed to do, but they kind of just skip that part because they can. You need to sit down, maybe just, keep it, I don't know, make it cute, I don't know, geez. You need to understand that this trans person is deserving of pleasure, regardless of what their equipment is. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be dating this person. Move on, find another cis person. It's not that hard, there's so many of you. In your conversation, ask them if there's anywhere that they do not like to be touched. Ask them if there's nothing that they do not like to be called. Ask them if there's anything that would make them uncomfortable. Have a safe word so that if you do something to fuck up, that you can recover, you can talk about it, you can move on. Every trans woman is different, has a different experience, has different likes and dislikes, and needs to have that conversation with you. All right, I've covered as much as I can in this one video. Let me go over some bullet points for you. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Trans people are not your kink. I will kink shame you into oblivion if you try to tell me that you have a thing for all trans women, because we are not a fetish. We are not all the same. That's like saying you have a kink for, I don't know, blondes. Are all blondes gonna turn you on? Are they all the exact same? That's stupid. That's stupid. Being trans is 1,000 times more difficult than dating a trans person. So do not go to your trans girlfriend and be like, oh, this is so hard. Why do you make it so hard for me? Because I'll dump your ass in 2 seconds flat. You'll be gone. Bye. Trans people are deserving of pleasure, period. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be sleeping with them. Okay, that's all. I hope you have a great week full of great things, and I will see you all later. If this video helped you or educated you in any way, please feel free to share it with your friends so that they can receive some of the same gratifying knowledge that I have to dispense upon you. I'll see you very soon. I love you. Bye!